She didn't know I was home. That's what made the whole thing sting more than it probably should have. I'd left for work like usual, even said goodbye like usual, but my morning meeting got canceled mid-drive. So I turned around. No warning. No reason to text. I just walked in through the back door, like always. At first, I didn't even think anything was off. I heard the shower running upstairs, figured maybe she was getting ready late. I was about to call out to her, ask if she wanted coffee, until I heard her voice. Talking. Loud, but not to me. I froze just before the staircase. She was on the phone, and the words that came out next didn't sound like something a wife should be saying. It's almost done, I swear. He's not going to fight it. He's too soft. He'll probably even blame himself. My blood went cold. She laughed. Laughed. No. No. He has no idea. He still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. I'm telling you, by next week I'll be out, and we can finally. I didn't need to hear the rest. I already knew what finally meant. She wasn't breaking down from guilt. She wasn't crying in the mirror, second-guessing a hard choice. No, she was celebrating it. Like leaving me was the big win in her life. I backed out of the house, so quietly I didn't even shut the door. I sat in my car across the street for almost 2 hours, just shaking. Not from anger. Not yet. At that point, I still wanted to believe there was some other explanation. That maybe I'd misheard. Maybe she meant someone else. Maybe soft wasn't about me. But then she texted, "Hey babe, hope your meeting goes well. Red heart, pick up oat milk if you can." Oat milk. Like she didn't just murder our entire marriage with a giggle and a plan. I didn't reply. That was the moment something flipped in me. Not rage, not revenge, just clarity. I realized I'd been trying to fix something she'd already replaced. She wasn't looking for peace. She was looking for permission to run. And now, she was going to get exactly what she asked for, but not how she wanted it. I didn't confront her that day. I didn't say a word when I walked back in later with her stupid oat milk and the most fake smile I could manage. She asked how my meeting went, and I said, "Fine." She kissed me on the cheek and hummed while putting groceries away, like she hadn't just made plans to erase me. That night, while she was brushing her teeth and scrolling through her phone like always, I opened her laptop. No password. I guess when you're that confident in your manipulation, you don't bother protecting your mess. I wasn't expecting to find anything. I just wanted to scroll through her browser history, maybe peek at a couple recent tabs. But then I saw it. A file on her desktop labeled, "Next Phase." I clicked, and I swear, I stopped breathing for a full minute. It was a Google document, like a full-on checklist. And I'm not exaggerating, she'd actually labeled it with steps. Step 1, detach emotionally, already done. Step 2, talk to a lawyer discreetly. Step 3, push the divorce conversation when he seems tired or distracted. Step 4, move money into private account. Step 5, secure new lease, ideally in city. Step 6, break it gently. Play victim if needed. Step 7, block access to joint files, control narrative. Step 8, start fresh with someone who actually matches me. That last one, that one stabbed. Because I knew instantly, she already had someone. She wasn't trying to find herself. She was just upgrading. She had packaged me into a problem to be solved, a placeholder to be replaced. And I'll admit it, I sat there crying like a child. Ugly crying. Because you don't spend years pouring yourself into someone expecting to become a bullet point in their exit plan. But then I noticed something else. A tab in her browser, still open, tucked under another window, private Gmail drafts. I clicked it. There were 3 drafts, all unsent, probably written in a rush and forgotten. The first one started with, "I'm sorry it's taking so long, but he still thinks we're fine." The second one was just a name. Gavin. Of course it was. I always hated that name. One of those overly confident, wear a blazer to the beach guys. She used to roll her eyes at guys like that. Guess she changed. The third draft was short. "I'll be out by next Friday. Be patient." He's already folding. I wasn't folding. I was documenting. Every tab, every timestamp, every file path. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to a private drive she didn't know existed, locked with a password she couldn't guess if she had a year. Then I did the thing I knew would make her sweat. I said nothing. Over the next few days, I played my part like a pro. I laughed at her jokes. I let her believe I was still soft. I even planned a fake weekend getaway and told her, "Maybe we can work on things." She smiled like a woman who thought she'd already won. But if she thought I was the soft one, She clearly forgot. I've been handling logistics for a living. I can organize chaos while blindfolded. She wanted a clean escape. Too bad for her. I was just getting started. There's something wild that happens when you realize the person you sleep beside every night is plotting their life without you. You start seeing things differently. The little smiles she gives herself while scrolling through her phone? Not innocent anymore. The random Spotify playlist she's been playing in the shower? Suddenly, every lyric sounds like a message to him. I was unraveling, quietly, but also sharper than I'd ever been. Every move she made was recorded in my brain like evidence. But the part that really sent a chill down my spine? The drawer. We have this old wooden desk in our shared office space. Most of it's mine, sticky notes, USB drives, some dumb novelty pins I got from work, but the bottom left drawer has always been hers. She called it her private space, and I respected that. Never opened it, never even touched it. Honestly, I forgot it even had a key. But one afternoon, while she was out doing viewings, her code for anything but real estate, I saw her keys on the hallway table. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was self-preservation. But I took the smallest gold key and walked to that drawer like it owed me the truth. When it clicked open, I swear I hesitated. A part of me hoped it'd just be old journals or embarrassing photos. I was still clinging to the version of her I married. The woman who used to cry at Pixar movies and randomly kiss me mid-sentence. But what I found? Nothing soft about it. Inside were printed copies of her lease application, already signed. Dated 3 weeks ago. A burner phone, turned off. A printed list of passwords, not ours, his. Gavin's, I assumed. And at the very bottom, a handwritten letter I couldn't stop reading. When it's done, I'll explain everything. I promise I tried, but I'm not meant to live a small life. You're kind, but not the kind I need. That line. Not the kind I need. Like I was some defective charger she was trading in. I was shaking. My hands couldn't hold still. But instead of confronting her, I did something else. I took a photo of everything. The documents. The burner phone. The letter. I uploaded them all to a cloud folder I called insurance. And then I did something that made my stomach churn. I put it all back exactly the way it was. Even relocked the drawer. Because now I wasn't reacting. I was strategizing. That night, she came home late again. Hair extra straight. Perfume too strong. Cheeks flushed like she'd been laughing too hard. She climbed into bed and scrolled through her phone, completely unaware I'd just dismantled her secrets piece by piece. "You good?" she asked, not even looking at me. I smiled. "Yeah, just thinking." She never asked about what, but she would. And very, very soon. I knew where she was. She told me she was going to a networking mixer with some colleagues from her firm. It was at a wine bar downtown she always pretended to hate. You know the type: dim lighting, overpriced drinks, mood music made for whispered lies. The kind of place people go when they want to pretend they aren't already cheating. I let her go without protest. I even said, "Have fun," like an idiot. She smiled like it was the most casual thing in the world, like she hadn't packed her favorite earrings, the ones she always said were too much for anything but a date. She left at 6:47 p.m. By 7:35, I was already parked 2 blocks from that wine bar, sitting in my old Honda with the engine off and my phone recording. Call me pathetic, but I had to know. I needed proof, not for court, not for leverage, just for my own sanity. For the part of me that still whispered, maybe you're wrong. Maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe you're just being paranoid again. But I wasn't wrong. I watched from a distance as she walked out less than an hour later, laughing, brushing her hair behind her ear like she was 21 again, like the ring on her finger was just decoration. And then he appeared. Gavin. I'd only seen photos, one shirtless, one smug LinkedIn profile. But there he was. Tall, tan, too polished. The kind of man who talks about Teslas and protein powder like they're religions. She slid into his passenger seat like she'd done it 100 times. She didn't even glance back at the bar. That's when I sent the text. Just 4 words. "You left it open." I knew her phone was in her purse. I also knew, because I'd tested it, that her smartwatch would light up when I texted. She'd see it on her wrist before she even unlocked anything. And she did, because right as the car pulled away, I watched her wrist light up and her smile vanish. Suddenly she was digging through her bag, fast, panicked. She turned to Gavin and said something sharp, and the car slowed at the intersection like they were about to turn around. But they didn't. They kept going. And I sat there smiling in the dark, Because what she didn't know was that you left it open could mean anything. The drawer, the laptop, her secrets, her lies. Let her wonder. Let her spiral. Let her try to figure out what I knew, because every second she spent guessing gave me more time to finish what I started. The next morning, she made breakfast. She never makes breakfast. She asked me 3 times if I'd slept okay. I told her I had a dream, we were walking through a forest, and she disappeared. She laughed nervously. I didn't. She stared at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. That's fine, because the man she married, he was gone. For the next 48 hours, she acted like nothing happened. Like I hadn't seen her get into another man's car. Like she hadn't read that message from me and panicked like her life was about to collapse. She made small talk, asked if I wanted to go to brunch, even suggested a movie night. It was surreal, like living in a play she was directing, and I was just expected to forget my lines. But I said yes to everything. Brunch? Sure. Movie night? Absolutely. I even rubbed her feet while she pretended not to flinch at my touch. And all the while, I was building it. The folder. On a spare USB drive I kept in the back of my drawer, the one drawer she never touched because it smelled like old cables. I started compiling everything. Screenshots of her messages. A copy of the lease. The photos I took of the burner phone. And even a short video, one I'd captured from my car that night outside the bar. You could clearly see her face lit up with laughter. And Gavin, leaning in, close enough that strangers would never guess she had a husband waiting at home. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. I just knew she'd underestimated me, and that was the only advantage I had left. Then, I wrote a letter. Not to her, to me. The version of me from before. The soft, clueless, eager to please husband who thought being kind was enough to be loved. I wrote every truth I'd ignored. Every red flag I'd justified. Every time I'd given her the benefit of the doubt when she didn't deserve it. And when I finished, I folded the letter and placed it behind the bathroom mirror. And then I left her a message she would see. I wrote a single sentence in dry erase marker across the mirror she used every morning to do her makeup. You can't fake reflection forever. I left it there, quietly, and went out for a walk. No warning. No explanation. Just disappeared before she came home. When I returned, the marker was gone. The mirror was spotless. But I noticed the trash can in the bathroom was overflowing. Tissues, makeup wipes, even the cap of the marker I'd used. She'd scrubbed it hard, like she wanted to erase something more than ink. But she never asked about it. Not once. Instead, she started texting me throughout the day. Just little things. Photos of her coffee. A funny video. Memes. Like she was trying to remind me she was still fun. Still lovable. But none of it worked. Because when someone is laughing in another man's car on Thursday and making pancakes in your kitchen by Saturday, you stop tasting the syrup. You just taste the lie underneath it. She thought she still had control of the story, but she didn't know I'd already made an appointment. And the person I was going to meet knew all about Gavin. He walked in like he owned the world. Black jacket, no tie, designer watch flashing just enough to be seen. He didn't recognize me, of course. Why would he? In his mind, I was probably just a non-person, some forgotten husband buried in paperwork and passivity. But I knew exactly who he was the moment he walked into that coffee shop. Gavin. He ordered a drink, took a seat near the back window, pulled out his phone, and started scrolling. I let him sit for 2 minutes. Just 2. Then I walked over, sat down across from him, and said his name. He looked up, confused, smiled politely. Sorry, do I know you? I leaned forward and said it again, slower. Gavin, right? From Stansfield and more? You work in real estate financing. You drive a gray Audi. And you've been sleeping with my wife. The color drained from his face instantly. He didn't deny it. He opened his mouth, closed it, then stared like he was waiting for a punch that didn't come. I didn't bring rage. I brought receipts. I slid a small envelope across the table. Inside were 2 photos, one of him and my wife getting into his car, the other taken just as he touched her lower back walking into his apartment building. He didn't touch the envelope. He just sat there frozen, like he was calculating legal risk in real time. I wasn't there to make a scene. I was there to deliver a message, not just to him, but to her. Because I knew he'd tell her. Of course he would. People like him hate exposure more than they hate guilt. I'm not asking for anything, I said. I don't want to fight. I just want you to understand that she's not free yet. And the way you both handled this? It's sloppy. It's amateur. Then I stood up, grabbed my coffee, and looked him right in the eyes. She's not the only one who knows how to plan. I left him there, pale and rattled, and I didn't look back. By the time I got home, the energy in the house had shifted. She was already there. She had lit candles. She had music playing. She had changed into something soft, not sexy, but safe. I knew the moment I stepped inside that Gavin had warned her. And I also knew she was scared now. She didn't bring up the mirror. She didn't ask where I went. But for the first time in weeks, she sat down beside me and asked, "Are you okay?" I turned and looked her dead in the eyes. "I'm working on something." She blinked. "Something for work?" "No," I said. "Something for me." She smiled nervously and nodded, like she was pretending to understand. But she didn't understand anything. Not yet. Because while she had spent months building an escape, I had just finished rewriting the ending, and she wasn't going to like how it ended. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was restless, but because I needed to hear her. Every breath, every shuffle in the sheets, every time she reached for her phone under the covers to check if he'd texted back. I didn't say a word. I just lay there, fully awake, eyes open in the dark, with the envelope already packed and sealed in my office drawer. I had printed everything. The photos, the bank transfers, her email threads to her lawyer, even that awful draft she never sent Gavin, the one where she said I was comfortable but not compelling. Like I was an outdated couch she was trading in. By morning, she was in routine mode. Messy bun, coffee mug, yoga pants, fake happy voice. She kissed my cheek and asked if I'd mind grabbing groceries later. Like we hadn't both been lying through our teeth for weeks. That's when I did it. I walked into the bedroom after she left and placed the envelope on her side of the bed, right on her pillow. Then I took my key off my keyring and placed it on top. No note. No explanation. Just truth. Then I left. Not for work. Not for a walk. I just left. And I waited. It took her less than 2 hours to call me. But I didn't pick up. Not the first time. Not the sixth. Not even when she switched to voicemail and started crying halfway through her message. I wanted her to feel it. That silence. That absence of control. That twisting anxiety she thought I never noticed in myself. Now it was hers. By the time I got back to the house, she was sitting on the edge of the bed, the envelope opened, everything spread across the sheets like crime scene evidence. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. She looked up at me like I was someone she didn't recognize. Why would you do this?" she asked. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just breathing it all in. The panic, the cracks in her voice, the understanding that she had finally lost her grip. "Because you lied every day?" I said. "You treated me like I was stupid, like I'd never notice, like I didn't matter." Tears welled in her eyes, and she started stammering. "It wasn't serious. Gavin doesn't even." "I don't care about Gavin," I interrupted. "I care about the fact that you made me feel less than. Like I was in the way. Like I was just something to tolerate until you could escape." She tried to move closer, but I stepped back. "I'm not angry anymore," I said. "That's the part that should scare you." And it did. I saw it in her eyes. The way she blinked hard like she was waking up from a dream she thought she controlled. She begged me not to leave that night. Said we could talk. That we could fix it. That she was just confused. But I was done being the confused one. Because now, I had something she never expected from me. A plan. She tried everything. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of fresh cinnamon rolls, which was funny, because she hadn't baked in years. There were notes stuck on the fridge, the mirror, the coffee machine. "Let's talk. We can fix this. Don't throw it all away." She even wore my favorite sweater, the one I'd stopped wearing because it reminded me of who I used to be when she still pretended to love me. But none of it worked. The damage wasn't just what she did. It was how easily she lived with it. How casually she walked around the house planning her exit while still asking me to pick up almond milk. That wasn't just betrayal. That was something colder. And I wasn't cold anymore. I was clear. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't post revenge online or show up at her new lease to expose her. I did something that really, truly caught her off guard. I let go. Without drama. Without ceremony. 3 days after she opened that envelope, I packed 2 suitcases and left while she was at work. No note. No speech. No last conversation to let her justify or spin. I just walked away from the house, from the fake apologies, from the version of myself that stayed too long waiting to be chosen. She came home to emptiness. No yelling. No burned pictures. Just absence. I moved into a quiet apartment outside the city, close to a lake, where nobody knows me as Kendra's husband. I started running again, badly, slowly, but it felt honest. I reconnected with my sister, who always suspected something was off, and I finally told my parents the truth about everything. They cried. I cried. Then we laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd had in months. And 2 weeks later, something strange happened. I met someone. Not the one. Not a rom-com plot twist. Just someone kind. A woman named Elise at a bookstore who complimented the book I was holding, then actually cared enough to ask what I thought of it. She didn't talk over me. She didn't look past me. She looked at me. That's when I realized I didn't lose anything. She did. Kendra lost someone who would have loved her through anything, who believed in her even when she stopped earning it, who would have forgiven her if she'd just been honest. But she wanted freedom, and I gave it to her. A few weeks later, she texted me late at night. I think I made a mistake. I didn't reply, not because I was bitter, but because I was free now too. And that was the win.